Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kaylee Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Dani Devren, who is the Soul Aligned Mentor. And in today's episode, we're actually going to be diving into her story from belonging to leading, the rise into aligned leadership and expansion. Dani, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you onto the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely adore hanging out with you and especially chatting all things business and storytelling. So yes, thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to diving into your story, and there's lots of different things I want to ask you and explore on this episode. But I think it would be great to have a proper introduction from you. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Of course. So I guess it starts 8 years ago when I fell into entrepreneurship. I was one of those mums who really took advantage of being on maternity leave. So back then I was working in a very fast-paced job in fashion. I worked in buying in London. So I was all about the commute, the hustle, but I loved it. It was a very sociable role. But I've always been torn between two dreams, right? Stay at home mum and have loads of babies and be a kept woman who goes for, lady of lunch, right? And then I had the other dream, which was absolute build an empire, be a boss babe. So when I went on maternity leave and I started my first business, I realized that there was a way to have both, and I just was never going to have anything less than everything that I wanted, because for me freedom and being the best mum I can be and be there for my kids was everything. So I guess I just threw myself into a life of creating whatever I needed to fit around being the mum I wanted to be and the wife and building the house and that sort of lifestyle. So yeah, 8 years ago, I started my first brand, which was a wooden toy nursery decor brand, which grew predominantly through Instagram, through social media, which of course spanned a massive love for social media and content creation, product photography. I then became a bit of a graphic designer. I did logos and brand identities, and I very quickly started to gain social media clients. So for about 5-6 years, I call it my busy fool era, because I was a lady of many hats. And I still adore being busy and juggling. I think those of us that are born creatives, we just love to create. So for me, social media just gave me another outlet. And I think when you become a mum, there's a part of you that just doesn't want to lose yourself, right? Because your identity shifts and you can really transform. Your day-to-day does transform, right? And your whole routine goes out the window. And I think there was obviously a part of me that was just determined not to lose who I was. So I just threw myself into so many different pies and hats, and yeah, ran multiple different businesses over the years. But essentially, I'm a born people's person. I just adore humans. I adore socializing and helping people. And so through the years of running that brand and supporting businesses with their influencers, marketing, brand reps and all that sort of stuff with community, I've always been just a born community leader. And when I sort of was self-taught in brand design, graphic design, social media, and running businesses, I very quickly became a bit of a business mentor. So I was supporting fellow business owners to learn how to use social media to scale their brands, but also understand the balance between authentic, genuine, organic marketing and also aesthetics, Canva created content. So in 2024, I did a very well-known online business course called One to Many. And I tell everyone it changed my life, but not just because of what I learned about business, but because of the women that I met. Because for me, women have been a massive part of my story through friendship, leadership, guidance, support. I've learned so much over the last couple of years because of the women that I met during that course. And that just changed everything for me, because it really did open up my own spiritual awakening. So everything that I do now has basically been born from this couple of years of remembering and getting to know the real me, and actually getting the permission to lean into all the natural parts of my soul gifts and my purpose and my mission. And so now I basically, because I'm a born sort of, like when you naturally adore show and tell, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it. I love to show and tell. If I've gone somewhere or done something, I have to share it with my circle. I have to share it with my friends. So when I started exploring spirituality, and for me, right, I was always someone that was always curious. So I was into tarot and I'd have like psychic medium clairvoyant readings every few years. And I joke and say that was my therapy. But my sister was more into like pagan ritual and herbs and witchcraft, right? That wasn't really my thing. And then I met Helen, who's my soul coach, who works with the Akashic Records. And all of a sudden, it's as if the penny dropped. And I was like, this is my thing. It's soul stuff. It's your connection with your higher self. It's like your soul purpose, your mission, that sort of stuff. And then I guess I went on this really kind of sponge couple of years of just soaking in the things that landed and what kind of validated my own intuitive beliefs and my faith. And then yeah, a few years in, I'm now like very much a spiritual mentor in what I do. So it's supporting women in business essentially, but it's through a very spiritual mindset lens and energetic. So I'm big on nervous system regulation and actually becoming your happiest, fullest self. So when people say to me, what do you want to do? Or what is your mission? I just want people to be happy. Like I genuinely just want to help people be happy because I meet people all the time who have scaled and made loads of money, but they're miserable, right? They're burnt out. Or you meet
Yeah.
people that have never really found their thing. So I always joke and I say, I'm the business mentor that doesn't care about your business. I care about you. Like, who are you and what do you want to do? Because it's not rare for people to come to me and then be retraining in something else a few months later. Because I'll be that permission slip to go and do the course or go and like take the leap of faith and do the thing that lights you up. So, yeah, in a bit of a nutshell, I guess spiritual evolution and expansion has been my story, and that's why I weave it into everything that I do. So, as much as I'm still passionate about social media and marketing, I do it from a very different lens. It's about how does it feel in your body first? What do you actually want to do? So, I call myself the rebellious cheerleader for that reason, because I'm giving, you the permission to rebel and, forget the rules and forget what you think you should be doing, which has always made me feel like I was a bit naughty and reckless. And I think I've had to really lean into owning that because it made me shrink for years. And I really did question my authority and my right. And that again goes hand in hand with the whole, normalizing therapy is a big thing for me. So I keep therapists and spiritual teachers and healers very close because personal development is massive for me. And I know it is for you as well. So that's
Yes.
kind of been a massive part of my journey. So everything that I do, I have a little black book of recommendations and contacts. I'm like, right, you need to go and spend some time with that person. You need to go and work on that. Because yeah, I'll be your hype girl and your cheerleader to get you to do the action, right? Take the aligned action and do the thing. But of course, life lies and we have to juggle a hell of a lot of stuff. So that's kind of why I've created the Awakening, the program that I run and the events that I do. It's to bring the other women along with me so that we have a beautiful soup of support, let's call it.
Sounds beautiful. And I know the incredible work that you do. I feel like everyone needs a Dani. Like everyone needs a Dani in their life, someone that can really bring out the best in people and ultimately do the work that probably no one else really does, right? Like you said, that it's through a different lens and it's the angle of all of the work that you do to really support people and help people be happy, help people create things that's actually going to light them up. So I love the fact that you do this. I really, really do. But before we dive into the work or more of the work that you do now, I want us to rewind the clock a little bit
Mm.
and go back. And something that you said a few minutes ago about this busy fool era, because I want to dive into this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What did that actually look like day to day? Tell us a little bit more about it so we can understand.
Do you know what? I find it so funny because I can look back now in hindsight and tell the story with a bit of a comedy lens. But at the time, I loved it, right? I didn't have a problem with it. It was everyone else around me that thought I was insane. I was the happiest I've ever been. Now I probably look back and think, I don't live life with regrets anyway. And I genuinely believe that everything happens to us, right? Not to us, for us. Everything happens for us to make a change, to get really self-aware. But I was just doing what I wanted to do. So when I had my first son, I was running a toy brand. I then adored social media. I started to get social media clients. So being a social media manager is all consuming. It's a 24/7 job, or it was for me because I had no boundaries. So I had clients 24/7 and I would be available 24/7. So of course, when my husband went back to work and I've only got a baby to look after, I say only, it's obviously the biggest, hardest job in the world. But
Yeah.
for me, I loved it. Like I'm a born maternal mother. Like I absolutely adore being a mum. And so for me, like it just went beautifully hand in hand. I got to spend my whole day looking after my baby and taking him to the park and going on play dates, doing all the baby classes, but also having this really exciting role where I was creating content and I was marketing somebody's business. And because I've always been passionate about somebody else's dream, I think that's what it was that I loved. People
Yeah.
came to me with their dream and I got to help them make it work, right? I got to help them showcase it to the world. And I think that's what I always love about social media. It's window into your business, right? So I
Mm.
loved being that support for them, those that weren't, very tech savvy, those that hated social media, those that didn't want to talk to their customers. I loved it. Like I've always been that customer facing person. So yeah, I was a business owner, my own brand, that I managed the packaging of the toys at home around nap time and around a crawling baby. I had my garage full of the toys, and I remember it was lockdown. So lockdown was wild for us because, for as we can all remember, everyone was shopping online. So for a small mum run business that ran predominantly through social media, it was amazing. We were so busy. I remember filling my corridor with parcels, and I was wrapping all the wooden toys, and gifting was a massive aspect. So silk ribbons and these cotton bags and in these beautiful branded boxes, and I just adored it. And so I'd have a postman come to my house every day and pick up the parcels. So every single day I was on social media all day. I was wrapping parcels around nap times. I was looking after my baby. I was meeting up with friends. I was going for lunch with my mum. I was doing all the things all the time. And then, of
Mm.
course, you bring clients into that. And I
Yeah.
remember the evenings where you'd put the baby to bed, me and my husband would be sat on the sofa, but I would have my phone glued to my hand. So for years, there was turbulence, let's call it, in my marriage, because my husband did think, like, you're on your phone all the time. Like, and for me at that point, I was so defiant and so determined to show him I'm building something. Trust me, I've got this. I have to be on my phone because back then we didn't schedule content. Everything was done live. So I was running brand rep challenges at 8 p.m. once a week, and I'd be gathering all these photos, and then I'd be like I wouldn't schedule, no, I'd be posting organically for my clients, and I'd be managing, influencers and brand reps, and it was so consuming. And then I was also doing party decor. This is the thing, this is the busy fool era, right?
It's
So
so busy.
not only was I managing multiple social media accounts and creating content and taking photos and running my own brand, I was creating party decor because it started off with my own kids because I've always been that extra mum who goes all out for the parties.
Yeah.
I had a friend who had a balloon business, so we did a lot of collaboration. I would design the party boxes and the placemats and the stickers, and I did it all organically through Instagram. And I was so busy and I loved it because I basically would merge the children's favorite kind of cartoons, right? So for my kids, for example, I'll do Toy Story meets Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, right? Or Ninja Turtles and unicorns. So I would create it all on Canva and I'd print it all out and I'd make these beautiful party cake toppers and stuff. All
Mm.
the stuff, right? Again, busy full era. I was doing all the things. So I was doing logo design and brand identity work, and I was multiple businesses. And it got to the point in, I think, 2024, it would have been the start of 2024, when I finally realized that there was a world outside of my house. And there were other women doing this crazy stuff, running businesses by themselves. Because at that point, nobody in my family or my friends had their own business. Everyone was like, "What is it you're doing?" I'm like, "Oh, they just don't get it," which is fine. And I genuinely felt very lonely and isolated. And then I found a whole world of women who network and women who run their own brands. But actually, for me, that was quite catalytic because when you have to sit in a circle and someone says, "What do you do?" and you list about five different businesses, you can only imagine the reaction. They were like, "You're fucking insane." I was like, "Yeah, maybe, but I love it." And I'm like delusionally in love with what I was doing. And I still own that now, right? I still genuinely believe we are really capable, right? Women who are passionate, women who are driven, we are capable of bringing up our children, running homes, and creating businesses. Because
Mm.
I've always been somebody that has very much been intuitively driven. If it brings me joy, I will do it. If I want to do it, if I enjoy doing it, I'll do it all day and all night, and I'll be absolutely fine. It's when other people question your sanity that it gets you thinking, wow, okay, maybe I could be doing one thing a little bit more efficiently. Maybe I
Yeah.
could be earning a little bit more, creating a little bit more freedom. So now I know that a lot of the lifestyle that I created was out of survival. A lot of it was from what I was shown growing up. a lot of it was very much my role that I thought I had to play. So I have been unlearning a lot of stuff in the last few years. And that's why my spiritual evolution, what I call, my personal development, massively transformed how I saw myself and how I've shown up for myself in my business, and how I guess I've transformed how little I do compared to how much I was doing. Um, but yeah, I loved it. So that was basically the busy fool era. So that was a
Amazing.
lot, right? That's a lot.
So much. I'm absolutely, do you know what? I know we've been connected and I know a lot about you, but I didn't know you had that many different businesses. And
Crazy, right?
it's fantastic. Like an absolute super mum, superhuman, super mum. So you obviously went through that stage. And I know you sort of shared at the beginning of this episode about kind of, in summary, the story, but was there then, how did you really kind of transform over to what you do now? What in terms of sort of mentally, was there sort of a turning point? Was there a moment that you kind of thought, I want to do things differently, or I want to dive deeper into the kind of the spiritual work, or take us back to that? Because obviously the busy era, fool era was very busy. And
Yeah.
then obviously you started to transition, but was there something deeper or
How
kind
did
of,
it transition, right?
yeah.
So lots of little nudges came, right? So,
Mm.
for example, I remember how hard it was to have a newborn baby that didn't sleep attached to me on a sling, being in my garden office in the garden, right? So I had a toddler who was potty training, and I remember this day, and I remember it so well because it was obviously a tipping point for me. He was walking around the house with his nappy down his ankles because he'd gone for a poo, and he was crying because he didn't know where I was. And I'd left him watching telly because I had to run into the office and wrap a parcel to get it out for the postman. And I had this baby sleeping. And I was like, this is insane. Like, this is insane. This is not how I want to do mothering. This is not how I want to run businesses. I am constantly fitting in stuff around every moment that I have. There must be another way. And I think I didn't have the answer that moment, but that was the day where I started to think, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be juggling all of this. I don't want to be the busy fool who everyone thinks I'm insane and crazy. And I don't want to feel like I'm proving something to people all the time. I don't want to have to justify there's method to this madness because I'm just doing what needs to get done. I am always a just doer. And I felt like sometimes we need to take responsibility on that, right? It's not about other people take advantage. It's about I had no boundaries. I did, so people allowed me to just get on with it and do. Because I have always had support. I've always had an amazing husband who is so hands-on with the kids and at home. I've always had a mum who will come and, do the washing and take the kids out. But for some reason, part of me thought I had to be constantly doing to receive that worthiness. So for me, productivity was a massive problem for me. And I know now why. I was brought up by the most selfless woman you will ever meet. She's incredible, but she has no awareness and boundaries, and she does not prioritize herself at all. I remember recently I had like let's call it a near burnout experience where I thought, this is what people talk about. And I can see
Yeah.
the signs so I can catch myself. But I sent myself for a bath that night. And I was laughing because I said to the girls, like, it's bad when Dani goes for her annual bath. So for me, growing up, right, baths were the only time I saw my mum look after herself. She would go for a bath with her book and candles. So for me as an adult, a bath is luxury. A bath is self-care. And I realized there's something very wrong with that. So recently I've been doing more clearing and inner child work and realizing that a lot of what I consumed growing up wasn't very healthy. And actually, I want my kids to know that mummy has freedom and she looks after herself and she doesn't need to constantly be doing. And sit down guilt is no longer a thing in my house. So back then, to answer your question, because I digressed a little, I think when I started to receive external judgment, let's call it, because I've always been a chronic people pleaser, right? And I have
Mm.
always been affected and impacted by other people's opinions of me. I will just call it what it is. I care, right? I've always cared. I care what people think. Recently, I've realized I don't care what they think, I care how they feel. So if I'm triggering something in them, I'm concerned, right? I don't
Yeah.
like it. I want to be liked by everyone. I get it. I now know the difference between being a people pleaser when you limit yourself and actually just caring how people feel. But back then, I think when I started to realize there was another option, that's what excited me. And again, I've always been very connected to my own intuition. So yes, I'll do all the things that light me up, but all of a sudden I realized I could be doing the one thing that I love more than anything, and just that. Imagine if I just did that. And I got so excited that I realized all of a sudden I had to let go of the toy brand. The toy brand was the one thing that I fell out of love with. And that was the one brand that took up so much of my time because I ran it with a good friend of mine, but she was still in full-time work. So Danny over here, Muggins over here, not her fault, all my fault. I went on maternity leave 8 years ago and never went back to work. So I struggled to even call it work because I still felt like I was just playing, right? I was just playing a business, doing all the things. But I realized that it was time I went back to work properly and I put on my big girl pants and I actually created a career for myself and not just did all the things because they brought me joy, not just said yes to all the opportunities because they excited me, actually got a bit intentional around business and where are my strengths? What am I really good at? Because that's the real secret in life, right? And my mentor calls it, I think it's the ikigai, right? Which is the Japanese thing.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that concept. And that's basically what my whole kind of journey's been about. And that is what I help others do, right? Is to find your sweet spot, the thing that brings you joy, the thing that you're good at, the thing you can get paid for. That is the thing. So all of a sudden, I realized I've got an incredible social media experience thing here. Let me just do that. And I was like, oh my God, I got so excited. And that's a nudge from the universe when you get that overwhelming sense of excitement and calm. I
Yes.
knew I had to shed. And looking back, I had to be really brave and I had to make choices. But for me, like, when I know, like, I will, that's it, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will keep going and going until the minute I don't, and then I'm done. So I had to have some really difficult conversations with my business partner. And I had to say, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. Like, let's sell. I want out. And, 2 years later, it's still here, like a ball and chain. Like, literally, I'm staring at all the toys in my office because I still haven't sold it. But that's a conversation for another day. So that brand is still very much existing around my
Okay.
neck. But obviously, I'm so grateful for the opportunities and the skills that having that brand taught me. And so there's been a lot of me that's had to let go of that over the last couple of years. So in terms of the spiritual stuff, I mean, I guess I was seeking permission, right? That's what it comes down to. I was somebody that cared so much what people thought of me that I shrunk a lot. I was definitely shrinking myself constantly. I was always trying to make sure other people felt comfortable. I was over giving, overstretching, always extending a hand for friendship. I would be the you know what I'm like. I'll go into a room and I'll genuinely go up to you and want to be your friend. I genuinely am that person. It's just who I am, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I will call myself out to make people feel comfortable. And I guess I finally got the permission that that is who I am. And when
Mhm.
you do these spiritual kind of readings, and the first thing for me was Akashic Records, right? So my soul coach, Helen, she is trained under this modality called the soul realignment method. And
Yeah.
essentially you just get told what your soul gifts are. Because I believe, and if we're going to go into spirituality, I believe we are all souls living one of our human experiences, but your soul is always your soul. So in every single lifetime, your soul gifts are always with you. Now, I believe the real meaning of life is to learn certain lessons. Whether you
Mhm.
listen to those lessons, whether you take action, whether you learn from them or not, is basically what unfolds in your life's path, right? And that's why things don't happen to you, they happen for you to listen, for you to learn, for you to make the changes. And this is a lot of the work that me and my best friend Soph do because we have woven the science of psychotherapy and understanding nervous system and also understanding your birth chart, your astrology, your soul gifts, your spirituality, your essence, right? And
Mhm.
how to remember what you're here to do and how to unlearn the conditioning and how to actually remember that everything that happened to you was chosen, right? I feel like that's something that people misunderstand about spirituality. For me, it's just connection back to yourself. And it's
Mhm.
all about self-awareness and self-development and essentially making peace with what has happened to you, for you, is shaping you to become your true, authentic, highest version of your best self, right? So that has basically been my journey the last 2 years, actually learning who the hell am I? Why do I react like that? Why have I always been trying to defend myself and actually stopping that? And I think that's like the biggest secret for all of us. For us to
Mhm.
truly own who we are, we have to make peace with it. We have to surrender. And for me, spirituality and these sort of tools gives you that permission because it's written in the stars, right? It's written in your birth chart. For me, for example, there's this thing called your Chiron wound, right?
Mm.
That's crazy. But when I struggle with the competitive misunderstanding of women in business and my kind of like dance, with friendships. It's all in my birth chart. Like people will literally do these readings and they will call out because of the placement of the time I was born, where the planets were. It's kind of like you go into the supermarket and you pick all these different things that make up your personality because
Yeah.
of the lesson you need to learn that lifetime. And for me, it's all around that. It's all around community. It's all around divine feminine energy and power and authenticity. And it's about, because my divine soul gift is love and healing. So that was a massive permission slip for me when I had that first reading and I was told your purpose and your mission in life is to spread love and healing and joy. I was like, oh my God, that's why I literally walk in and light up a room, because I want to. It's who I am. Whereas for a while I shrunk that and I didn't like that. People didn't always know how to take that. And I would obviously receive, because life's a mirror, right? And we've all understood that. When you have worked through some things,
Mm.
you hold up a mirror to those that haven't. And that's
Yes.
why going into every situation and relationship with compassion and kindness for other people's stuff has been a massive part of my journey the last few years, to stop playing the victim, to stop projecting, to start having emotional intelligence and acceptance that this is not personal. This is them protecting themselves. This is a projection. And actually, I'm holding up a mirror of what they are not able to do for themselves. And that triggers people. So I had to learn to let go of that, because it used to literally debilitate me. I used to find it so hard that people thought I had an agenda. Like, she mustn't be this nice. She must have an agenda. What does she want? I just want to go for coffee, right? I just want to be your friend. I just want to hang out. I just want to belong, right? So yeah, it's been a journey of all of that.
And what a journey. Like, and it's absolutely fascinating to hear this and, the work that you've done around your own identity, around obviously sort of building in the whole spiritual expansion, all of the things that you do. And obviously, you now support so many other people, with this deeper work. But I want to talk about something that is obviously really, really iconic and unique to what you're doing at the moment, because you've gone from, obviously being a people pleaser, wanting to belong. You're now building, in inverted commas, your own village. And I want to dive into this. Like, what does this actually mean? Because I remember you sharing this with me the other day, and I was like, I want to know more about this on the podcast episode. So tell us more. Like, what is this? What does it consist of? Tell us more.
Okay, so a few years ago, I had a vision, right? It came to me in the shower, like all my visions do, because when you're in water, you can really download these ideas, right? And creative juices flow, whatever. And essentially, you're most connected to your higher self, right?
Yes.
So I had this vision of creating this. Then it's evolved, right? But the vision was always to help people with what had helped me. So my little black book of spiritual modalities and healers and teachers and guides, I wanted to gift them to women, right?
Yeah.
People in business who are fascinated with personal development, who know they want to do the work, the inner, real, deep work that isn't all love, light, and rainbows. It's shadowy, it's dark, it's really, really difficult and uncomfortable. But it's so important to be a responsible, emotionally responsible leader, right? If you want to be a change maker and you want to help people, you've got to work on your own stuff. So
Yeah.
I really could see this whole vision. But at the time, I didn't think I had what it took, right? I thought, oh, that's a great dream. I love it. I can see it. I can feed it. One thing about me, I've always struggled with timelines. And if anyone's into Marvel and you understand quantum timelines, you'll probably get what I mean. I believe that there's multiple timelines where you can do things, but you have to be a vibrational match to that frequency. And
Mm.
I've always been somebody that's constantly excited, because it's as if I know something amazing is about to happen. But then I just convince myself, not yet, not now, you're not ready. So that timeline never quite comes in. So this kind of happened a couple of years ago. And I know now that it's because I had more work to do and I had more shedding and learnings and I had to collect more people. So what really happened was at the start of this year, a lot of us in the online space, mainly women in business, were moaning and kicking off and struggling with social media. Now, social media has always been my playground. I adore Instagram. I've always had a great emotional connection with it, where I take what I need, I leave the rest. It doesn't consume me. I show up because I want to. I share authentically because it brings me joy, and I lead people to do the same, right? But online in January, there was a lot of like drama. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of drama, and everyone was just like, "Stop the world! I'm getting off." They hated it. And I
Yeah.
had this WhatsApp group because I adore WhatsApp. And whenever I do a challenge, like most of us, we create a WhatsApp community. And for my retreats and my social media workshops, I have groups. Anyway, in January, I was like, do you know what? Fuck it. Why don't we all hang out in Dani's little rebellion and let's just make friends? And everyone loved it. And I mean, at the time, I don't think I realized what I was doing. I just wanted to give people a way out. I was like, just hang out on WhatsApp with me. Let's chat. I love a voice note. I send them motivational voice notes. I chat about my day or whatever's going on. And I didn't realize I was giving them permission to just lead with their truth. So everyone's just hanging out. And it was really sweet because everyone kept asking me permission. And they were like, Dani, is it okay if I do this? Dani, is it okay if I share that? Dani, can I drop this link? Oh, delete if it's not allowed. And I was like, guys, there are no rules here. This is the rebellion, right? There are no rules. This is what I mean when I say I'm a rebellious cheerleader. I want you all to win. Drop all your offers, sell all your stuff. You don't have to wait for a certain day. You don't have to worry if there's competition. Like that doesn't exist in Dani's world. We all shine. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, hang out, make friends, drop your stuff. And obviously, with that comes a bit of like freedom and it comes with people playing with it. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize this was allowed. And they're loving it. And of course, it creates natural collaboration and people are calling for podcasts and their events and they're selling stuff. And it's great for me because I'm somebody that believes massively in flow, right? Not force. I don't want to sell through social media. I don't want to have a sales call and convince you to work with me. I can't be asked. Genuinely, I don't like that style of business. Masculine marketing, it's not for me. What I do is attraction marketing. I want to be your friend. I want you to like me, know me, trust me. And then it's very easy for me to sell to you because you naturally want to be around me. That's what I do, right? And that's what I teach. So in the WhatsApp group, people are getting to know me. And of course, when I say I've got a retreat coming up, they're like, oh my God, I have to be there. When I launch my workshops, they're there. So that is what I was creating by default. But there was
Yeah.
no intention, right? There was no agenda. There was just let's hang out because we're finding social media hard. And we were talking on the weekends and we're sharing AI prompts and we're having fun and, we're chatting about the kids and school and whatever we need to talk about. And I realized that a lot of people have forgotten the power of friendship. And that has always been my thing, right? And I know a lot of mentors and coaches have teased me over the years. Dani just wants to dick about on social. She just wants to make friends in coffee shops. Yes, she does. And do you know what? It works because this is how I've scaled my brand. So actually, it felt very like rewarding for me to realize there's proof in the pudding. There's method to the madness. Actually, what I've been doing for the past 2 years, inviting people onto a virtual cuppa on Zoom with no agenda other than friendship, has worked because I've created this community. And of course, I'll go to the mastermind days and they'll say to me, are you monetizing it yet? How much are you making from it? And I'm like, you're missing the point again. This is this is spiritual business. This is a soft, divine, feminine way of doing business. There are no rules, and there definitely isn't a way to monetize this. I was genuinely just inviting people. Of course, we understand the power of networking. I love networking, but only when it's done with authentic connection first. And a lot of the controlled spaces forget that point that when you expect and demand people to show up with their business cards with a 30-second pitch, when you're creating nervous system panic and when you're literally like forcing people to sweat with stress, you're not going to get the best of them. Like it literally does the opposite. And then people either feel forced to stay because you're promising the world, this is how you make money, this is how you get referrals, we're going to force each other to recommend. And it feels icky and uncomfortable, and I hate it. I just want to make friends. I just want to get to know you. I just want to hang out. And when you can lead from that safe nervous system where there's no agenda here, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't care what people do, right? I care who you are. So when I go to a networking space, I want to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to invite you out for lunch and dinner and let's hang out on Zoom and let's actually be friends first. And I realized that that was really rare. And I realized that that is something that I've been misunderstood for my whole life, which is fine. I like being misunderstood now because that just means I'm challenging the norms. So now I can own it. And actually, what I'm doing is I'm leading a new way to network. I'm leading a new way of making your brand and your business scale. And I'm showing people what social media was always meant for, to socialize, to make friends. And this is what I love hate around humanity, okay? This is so funny that I'm randomly saying this, but obviously I'm meant to. So I have always hated the fact humans find something good and they ruin it. They destroy it, right? They suck the life out of it. And we can bring up loads of examples over the years, right? But for example, social media was created so that we could socialize, so we could reach people from all over the globe. That was the idea, right? Well, obviously it was created for the university to have this whole internal comms thing. That's how
Of
it
course.
started, right? But when you genuinely remember that you have an incredible opportunity to reach people authentically with integrity, with intention of friendship and socializing, it's magical and it's beautiful and it's pure. When you unintentionally, or maybe very intentionally, try and create money from it, it kind of loses the magic and it becomes something very different. So we all know now that we are born in a generation where we have free marketing at our fingertips, and it's incredible. And we are so blessed and lucky because for those of us that grew up watching Wears Prada and all those amazing films that shaped my kind of like dreams around, like board meetings and the sales team and your advertising and how it was around, either television adverts or billboards. That was it. Now we're so lucky that we have access to our ideal clients at our fingertips, which is amazing. And of course, I threw myself into social media marketing because I get it. But what worries me is people have missed the point. So they're using social media to make money. They're not using social media to share how they can serve. They're not using it to share their story or their lived wisdom or who they are. They're trying to get money and to sell. And those accounts are dead, right? They're dead in the water. They're miserable. There's like no likes, there's no engagement, there's no love there. So obviously,
Yeah.
I support people to lead from storytelling, to lead from their lived wisdom, to share why they're the best person in their industry, why people want to work with them. Similar to what you do, we're all about becoming your iconic leader in your industry. But actually, social media is not your sales page. It's not your website. It's not meant to be a sales generator. It's supposed to validate who you are only if you're genuinely, authentically who you are. Because this is my bugbear. We all know that people like to create personas for themselves online. And then you meet them in
Mhm.
real life and you're like, oh my God, you're a fraud. It's an absolute catfish. Right? But this is where you have to come with kindness and compassion because what I realized was those that aren't really confident in who they are have tried to be someone that they're not. And don't get me wrong, like I will never judge somebody for that. It makes me feel sad, but it just proves how misaligned and disillusioned people can be when they feel like they have to perform. And I get it. From a mental well-being perspective, social media has created a cult of performance. And that's the point.
100%.
I want to educate people that this isn't right. I get it. You hate it and you feel like you need to play on the merry-go-round. But the point is, stop playing. Stop playing the game and jump off this crazy merry-go-round and actually lead with truth, lead with authenticity without having to call yourself authentic. Just embody it. Just be who you are. And of course, that's why I still teach social media, but I teach it as spiritual practice because I believe if you can move through your own visibility blocks because they are so much deeper than just showing up on socials, then you can really start leading from that place of wisdom. And that's how we change the world. We change ourselves first. So I've got this kind of tagline like, I want to change the world one Instagram account at a time. But this is kind of what I mean. It's like educating people that I get it. You feel as though you have to perform. I get it. I understand how hard it feels where you think you have to fake it till you make it. But I'm here to tell you that that's wrong. That isn't how we're supposed to be scaling or selling or serving. That whole performative era, like it's ending. It's not about that anymore. But it takes us to jump off and stop playing it to actually lead from the change that we believe can really help us. So, long story short, that's kind of what the village is. So, this beautiful space on WhatsApp. And as I'm still shedding and learning and doing the inner work this year, and I
Yeah.
was realizing what triggers me in the online space and in the business world, what is it that stresses me out, freaks me out, and makes me want to shrink? And what is that telling me about myself? So I had to do a lot of shedding. And that's why recently I've even been pulling away from social media because I realized that I was also showing up out of survival. And
Mhm.
years ago, for me, that kind of performative exposure was keeping me safe because I created this belief around out of sight, out of mind, which I'm currently doing a whole spiritual clearing around because it came from something that happened in primary school, right? And we all know that we can't change what happens to us, but we can rewire the belief that was created after that event because I'm big on rewiring, right? So that's kind of been a dance I've been doing. But while I've been really stepping into my real kind of authentic power in how I can turn my whole pain into purpose and make a change, this WhatsApp group was growing. And there's over 100 women in there loving life and thanking me daily for what I've created. And I'm like, what do you mean thanking me? What have I done? I'm like, oh my God, like I've created the village. And I didn't even realize it because I surrendered my grip. I stopped trying. And this is the magic. When you stop trying so much, what's meant for you won't pass you by. And I
Mhm.
organically was building the community that I envisioned 2 years ago. And it was happening so peacefully, so easily. And I genuinely believe life doesn't have to be this hard. Business doesn't have to be this hard, right? It can be so easy and free flowing. You just need to silence the noise and realize what are my strengths? What are my gifts? I was born to hold space. I was born to lead a community. I've got like tribal leader lines in my human design, right? I led a rebellion in a past life. Like that is genuinely who I am. But I do it from a place of love and kindness and compassion and cheerleading because I want to support with conviction. I want to end the witch wound, right? And I'm sure we can all relate with what the witch wound is. For some reason, for centuries, women have been feeling like we have to be in competition with each other, and there's not enough success or money to go round. So essentially, that's what the village is. It's a friendship first community for those that want to be on their spiritual journey, whether they're exploring, they're awakened, or they're curious. That's the
Mhm.
golden thread. So what I'm creating is a virtual village where we meet online once a month. We meet in person. It's about socials, in person, like connection.
Yeah.
But it's all about authenticity, collaboration over competition. It's about leading with those love-led values, feelings first. And it's kind of changing the way I guess we network, because I want us to go for dinner on a Friday. I want us to book an Airbnb and go for a slumber. I want us to go to events together, but I also want us to just hang out and find our friends, find our tribe. So that's kind of what it is. And it's really amazing that it's unfolding so naturally, because I've already got founding villagers that have signed up and I've not even launched it yet. Like, it's so exciting. And that's how you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's how you can trust that your entire journey has been bringing you up to this point. So when you silence the noise and you listen, what is your soul whispering you to do, nudging you to do? What is the universe creating for you so that you can take that seat, take the role, and do the thing you were born to do?
Yeah,
Fabulous.
I think it's just fascinating and incredible what you've actually built. And I definitely think a lot of what you've just shared around sort of, again, being truly authentic to themselves, not having to feel that they need to perform. There's so many golden nuggets that you shared there for people to take away, which I think is incredible. And, and really bringing this all within your story as well and what you've actually done, I know will give our listeners some great takeaways and great things to obviously consider and think about themselves in terms of their business and how they're showing up online as well. And your village sounds incredible. Like, it really, really does. So I think that's absolutely amazing that you felt that, for sure. And I'm sure so many of our listeners will be very keen to find out more about that as well. So we'll make sure that links and details are in the show notes, or you can absolutely reach out to Dani. But before we finish, Dani, I just want to kind of ask one more question for our listeners to kind of give them a little bit of advice, really, that if any of our listeners are potentially listening, sat here, and they're feeling like they're potentially sort of outgrowing where they are. Maybe they're overperforming, maybe they don't feel like they're fitting in, maybe they even think they're a people pleaser and connecting to your story. What is your advice? Like, what do they do? What do they need to do in order to move forwards, in order to be the best version of themselves and to be happy with what they're creating?
I would say the secret is to become so self-aware, right? We have to become so self-aware of ourselves, how we feel, how we think, how we behave.
Mm.
And by doing that, you really have to disconnect. You have to disconnect to reconnect. You have to silence the noise. You have to stay offline for a little bit. You have to take your shoes off and go walk on the grass, like grounding and things like that. It makes such a difference. So, like, I'm the sort of mentor that will tell my clients to go and have a bath and then voice note me what comes out afterwards. Like, sometimes you just have to remember that there's a reason why ancient wisdom is a thing and why so many practices are about nature and about really disconnecting, because only then are you truly present with yourself. And that's why, if you're somebody that struggles to switch off and you need to meditate, learn how to meditate. Find some music that you can just listen to. Find a place that's quiet. Come away from what everyone else is doing and try and learn how to stop comparing yourself. Like, this isn't a one stop fix, right? This is a journey of slowly remembering who you are and getting back to yourself. But the first step is to trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Like, the thing that brings me back to myself when I know that my head's going all over the place, I pause and I remember divine timing. I am not behind. I am not slow. I'm not, in a rush. I'm exactly where I need to be. And I trust that right here, right now is where I'm supposed to be. So when you start living like that, you really start to lean into gratitude, which is like the highest frequency to be on anyway. Show yourself that you are grateful and you are worthy because of what you've already gone through. What you've already built is never wasted. So no matter what your path has been from now, don't stand and regret it or resent it or give yourself a hard time for it, because lives, right? Life is busy and crazy, and we can only do the best with what we've got. But make a choice to start getting so aware of yourself so that you can become really responsible, so you can start leading from your truth, because only then do we start to make changes. It's not about other people. I heard something from, these gurus. His name's Sadhguru. Incredible. I love, like, like philosophers, like
Yeah.
prophecies, like prophets, right? He talks about how nothing happens externally. It only happens within us. And I was like, oh my God, I love this, because this is my belief around, like, universal law of correspondence, right? As
Mm.
within, so without. We only are impacted if we let them impact us. How does it impact us? What are we telling ourselves about ourselves because of how we feel? So for you to start doing these little steps to get so aware how that situation made you feel, it's got nothing to do with the situation. It's not your business. You can't control it. You can only control how you react and respond. So start to go inwards. So my best advice would be to start getting aware, start getting so self-aware that you can own your shadows and your shit so that you can make a change and be responsible to change yourself. And that's how we help others. But essentially, that's how you start to listen to, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I no longer available for? What no longer serves me? What lights me up? Only then can you listen to that, because it can get so confusing. And then we can get misled and misguided. So really remember to think for yourself is another kind of secret. And I guess it goes hand in hand with my like rebellious style of mentorship. Stop thinking about other people. Stop listening to other people. Start listening to yourself. What do you want? Who are you? How do you feel? So when people come to me, they ask me my opinion. I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. What do you want to do? And it's that. So I'd love for people to just start getting really, really self-aware about who they are and what they want to do, because you get to choose.
Absolutely.
Actually, you can, Kaylee.
Yes,
Actually,
actually, you can.
I love that so much.
Great advice, honestly, and self-awareness is so, so important. Absolutely, you know, the foundational work of what everyone should be doing, and really lean into that. And Dani, it's been such a pleasure just hearing about your story, talking through your journey, giving no end of piece of advice to our listeners. Where can our listeners find you and connect with you?
Well, of course, my playground is Instagram. You will find me there daily, Dani Devren. And yeah, just reach out, drop me a DM. Let me know if you've listened to this. And yeah, let's be friends.
I love this. Thank you so, so much for coming on to the podcast episode. And for those that want to reach out to Dani, as I said, the link is in the bio. Obviously, connect with her, or in the bio, in the show notes. Connect with her, go and say hello to her. And honestly, be in her world. She is just absolutely incredible, and obviously is changing so many people's lives and supporting them in really finding their true self. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much. It's been my honor. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone that's tuned into today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast with me, your host, Kaylee Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream six-figure or multi-six-figure business, then head to our website now for more information, or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.